Hey there guys, Nordic Warrior here, welcome back to my video game review series. So today we're going to be looking at Spider-Man 3 for the PS2. Now, those of you who have been following my channel will know that I quite recently reviewed the Xbox 360 version of Spider-Man 3. And I wanted to review the PS2 version separately because both versions of the game are very different. While Spider-Man 3 was being developed, the next generation HD version of the game was being made by Treyarch, who made the first two movie license games, whereas the PS2 version was being made by Vicarious Visions. And clearly Activision spent most of their time and effort, as well as most of their budget, on the HD versions because sadly the PS2 version was clearly rushed in development and it has a very cheap and distorted look to it, like it was poorly ported to the PS2. Nonetheless, there are still some things about the game that I really like, despite all the problems it has and the overall lack of polish. The game is an open world action adventure game just like most modern Spidey games and pretty much follows the same formula. You have to swing around the city, defeating gangs and thugs, rescuing civilians and completing story missions. The game follows the story of the movie very loosely and has some subplots of its own. Just like with the HD version, the game begins with a tutorial once again narrated by Bruce Campbell. Some of his dialogue in this game is actually better than in the other version, but I digress.
You remember when we were talking about dodging and how great a thing it is? Okay, just checking.
What you will notice right off the bat is that this game has a very different combat system to the HD version and also has some different cutscenes and dialogue. It has some hilarious dialogue of its own.
Hello? MJ? What do you want? No, I haven't found out anything. Don't call back! All those tests and nothing!
Most of the game's combat is ground-based and is a lot less flashy and stylized. You have melee attacks and combinations you can pull off, as well as web attacks and grappling attacks to take out your enemies in a variety of ways. Another way that this game differs from the HD version is in the way that the black suit is implemented. In the HD version, you unlock the black suit at a particular point in the game and use it until near the end. In this game, you unlock the black suit near the beginning, and can switch between suits at any time. Using the black suit makes your attacks more powerful and makes your punches sound like explosions, but at the same time it has a negative effect. The more you use the suit, the more you start to lose control, and the suit begins to consume Spidey. Spidey will have to take it off and avoid blacking out. The game has plenty of enemy variety. You fight regular thugs and gang members around the city, and there are various versions of these, some more powerful and tougher than others. You have shielded enemies and flashy quick enemies that avoid your attacks, and you basically need to use your webs to slow them down and stop them. You also fight lizard men and several special enemies like that, which again come in different forms. You can speak to gang informants around the city to set up crime tours where you can basically track down a bunch of criminals and thwart their crime sprees. You also come across random events in the city where you may have to perform public services such as rescuing helpless children or delivering delicious fruit pies. There are several villains from the Spider-Man comics that make appearances in the game, including the three main villains from the movie, New Goblin, Sandman and Venom, as well as some from the HD version like Lizard, Kraven the Hunter or Carlisle the Mad Bomber. In this version they also added the vampire Michael Morbius, along with his wife Shriek. What I like about the Morbius storyline in particular is that it actually ties in really well with both the Lizard storyline and also with the main storyline, and some of the writing here is actually pretty good. The game has some pretty cool boss battles as well as some lame ones. Just like in the HD version, the Harry Osborn New Goblin boss battle is atrocious and is basically just a bunch of boring quick time events. The Venom boss battle, however, as well as the second Sandman fight are actually pretty cool and better than the HD version in my opinion. I really like the way that they were set up. The Michael Morbius battle was also pretty cool too, as well as both the Lizard battles. You also fight Kraven the Hunter again, and his boss battle wasn't much different. The first Sandman battle in the subway was a major disappointment though, as that was my favourite battle in the HD version and it was basically just a completely watered down version here. So the boss battles for the most part are okay, but a bit of a mixed bag. The game has some authenticity with the main cast of the movie reprising their roles, and like I said before, some of the dialogue in this version of the game in my opinion is a little bit better than the HD version. Sadly though, the biggest problem I have with this version of the game is its overall technicalities. The game's graphics are absolutely atrocious for PS2 standards, and the game looks considerably worse than the first two movie license games, despite being released years after. As I mentioned before, this is most likely because of Activision's budget and effort going into the HD version, so I don't really blame Vicarious Visions for it. In fact, I actually do believe that Vicarious Visions had a lot of passion for the project and did the best they could with what they had. The game has several collectibles to hunt for and find, including meteor fragments that you can find scattered around the city on rooftops, as well as Spidey emblems that you can go and find after completing the main story. So if you like hunting for collectibles, you can try and find all these if you want to. Some of them are quite well hidden, some are just out in the open. You also have your typical side missions like trick races and combat tours and stuff like that. So the game has plenty of variety and things to do, but unfortunately it's just a shame that the graphics are so terrible and the game is full of frame rate issues, texture pop-in and some crazy ass graphical glitches. If the game had a higher budget and more time in development, it could have been a lot better in my personal opinion. So as much as I personally had a lot of fun with the game, I can't really recommend it over the HD version or any other open world Spidey game. But if you're a huge Spidey fan and you just want to collect all the Spidey games, you could check out this game if you wanted to, but if not, just stick with the HD version of the game. You can find both versions very cheap, and who knows, maybe if you could look past some of the game's technical flaws, you might even have more fun with it than I did. I give the game a very generous 6 out of 10. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more retrospective video game reviews. I have a lot of reviews coming to the channel in the near future. Thanks for watching, and God bless.
The best way to honor the people I love is to never stop being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.